Hey, my name is Brent here on Cloudy with the Chance of Meeples. Today on the channel, we are looking at Between Two Castles of Mad King Ludwig. I will say that I received this as review copy from Stonemaier Games. I just want to say that right off the top. But in this game, you will be working with your neighbor on your right and on your left to build castles. But you will only be able to score your lowest scored castle. So the highest lowest score of each player ultimately determines the winner. This is a drafting tile laying game. It's a mashup between two cities and Mad King or Castle of Mad King Ludwig, which both games I never played, but I do like tile laying games and I do like drafting games. So let me show you how this plays in the radar overview. My final forecast coming up shortly. Cue the thunder. Overview 4, Between Two Castles of Mad King Ludwig looks like this. This game comes with 2 custom game trays inserts, which I do say are absolutely amazing. This is how they sit in the box, and you're ready for setup in virtually no time flat. You just take the covers off, and then each player will take one castle to put kind of between them and the player on their left, and one to the player between them and the player on their right. So you'll be working together to build a castle. Then you will take a stack of 9 tiles. And so if this was the castle that I was building over here, I just take this stack for round 1. I would take this stack for round 2. It really is that simple. You need a throne room for each of the castles, and you're ready to go. I'm going to show you how you play this and how you build one specific castle. And then it will virtually be the same in another situation. So I'm just going to take, let's say, 9 of these tiles. So on your turn, you are going to, let me just go a little bit further down here on the camera so we can see these tiles. I thought these tiles were a little bit smaller than Carcassonne, but they're actually the same size as Carcassonne, but there's quite a bit on them. This is a drafting game, so you will be looking at the hand of tiles that you have, and you'll be picking one of these tiles to put in the castle on your left and one on your right. But I'm just going to show you how you'll build a specific castle. So, you know, if it's my turn, or on any turn, we're going to draft. So let's just say I'm going to take, I'm going to look at the throne room, and I get 2 points per yellow or blue tile that's either in this position or this position. So I'm just going to take the rabbit room, and I'm going to put it down, and the neighbor on my left, they would do the same thing. And then when everybody has picked their 2 tiles, you then build these castles together with your neighbors. So imagine with me, anything parallel or on either side of the throne room is ground level. Anything underneath is obviously the basement. Anything above is just different levels to your castle. So me and my neighbor would decide. I chose this one. They chose the tapestry room. We would decide where to put them. There are some placement rules. You must put it that it makes sense if it was the real world. What does that mean? I couldn't just put it here because that's floating. There's no support underneath this one. And of course, if it was a basement, I couldn't do this because, again, there needs to be a support. But let's just say we do this, and we put this tapestry room over here. Okay, so the sleeping rooms, they score me 4 points if I have all of these. All the 6 different room types, or just a single point if I don't. These, you know what? I'm actually going to put it like this. This would actually work, because this room specifically will give me 1 victory point per sleeping room in the 8 tiles surrounding it. So if I put it like this, then of course this would get me at least 1 point. And we'd be well on our way. And then we would draft another round. Each player gets a player aid and shows the different room types. So there are food rooms. They score 2 points for specific room types above and below them. You have the living room, much like I showed here, will score for specific room types around them. You have utility rooms that will score with specific room types that are connected. You have outdoor rooms that will score for, let's see if I can find, yeah. So here are, here's an outdoor room. It would give me 1 point for every food room in my castle. Let's imagine we put that there. Okay, utility room. This would score 1 point per connected one of these shields. So in each of the top left corners and right corners, they have different iconography. So if I would put this here, that would, this half tile, half of the throne room would count towards this one because it's 1 point per connected this type of shield. And this one, imagine it's 2 tiles. You would get 1 point for this one. Then you also have the sleeping room, which we already talked about, corridors and basements. And let me find one of each of those. They score a little bit different, and they actually can be placed a little bit different as well. So corridors are these like gray tiles, I guess you would say, with the little minus sign, and they can be placed above ground or below ground. So it shows you the placements on all these as well. Above ground for all these. Corridors is either or. So let's say I would put this here because this would get me 1 victory point for each of these mirror types. And this tile has that matching mirror type, so that will be 1 victory point. And then finally you have the downstairs. Downstairs, again, has to be below. I couldn't go here because there's no supported structure. And then this one would be every corridor above or below. So if I would do like this, I could keep going further down, and that would score me a point for that one. So those are the 6 different room types. And of course, if you have the sleeping room, and I have all 6 of them, I would score 4 points for this. So each of these room types score a little bit differently. Whenever you get 3 of the same type of room, so if me and my neighbor then, built, let's say we would build this one, because that would be 1 point for every adjacent sleeping room. And imagine we would build this one, and this would be per connected stair. Well, clearly I can't put it here, but if I put it here and put stairs underneath or basements underneath, that would score a few more. But anytime you have 3 of a certain or of any one type, you get the bonus. So for the utility rooms, we then look at this tray, and you would draw 3 of these cards, and you could together. You're doing this all together with your room, not your roommate, your neighbor. You take one of these, and then you decide which one. So this would be at the end of the game. 1 point for every one of these mirrors. So in this case, 1, 2. If we keep that one, 1 point for every one of the flames that are in the top left corner or top right corner. Some of these, no, we're not going to keep that one. And then finally 1 for every picture frame that is square, which is this one. So maybe we would just keep this one as a team. There are different bonuses. Like I said, 3 of the food ones, you draw 5 random tiles from the reserve. You guys, you and your neighbor get to pick one and place it in your castle. Living rooms, as soon as you have 3 of those, 3 of those, you get to choose one of these little characters that will go into your throne room. And this one will give you 1 point for every, flame. And this one will give you 1 point for every 2 swords, which in this case will be a good thing because you put it here and you got sword, 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 sword. So this attendant would be really good for this castle. You can have up to 2 attendants, because if you ever get 3 of the downstairs ones, you get to choose any of the bonus. But let's keep going down. 3 outdoor ones, you get a fountain, and they are just worth straight 5 points. But anytime you put an outdoor one, much like this fish pond or this fountain, you can never build on top of that. So you have to be careful when you're going to put these different buildings. If you ever have 3 of the sleeping rooms, you would then put a tower, and you would get 1 point for every tile underneath, all the way down to the basement. And then if you have the corridor, you would get a grand foyer. Let's say the grand foyer, and this scores 1 victory point for every tile around it. So then you just kind of want to box that one in. And like I said, you get any bonus if you do 3 of the downstairs. And then, of course, if you do 5 of any type, then you get to choose any one of these special ones, whether it be a fountain, tower, or grand foyer. So that's how you would play different rounds. As soon as you play 2 rounds, you would then get the scoring sheet, and then you would go through every single room. So at that point, we would look every food room, and you'd score each one of them individually. Every living room, which in this case, we have 1. That one would score 1. Every utility room, we check this one, it would score 1. This one would score 1, 2, 3. This utility room wouldn't score any. Outdoor rooms, 1 per yellow, which we didn't build any. And then 5 points for the fountain. Sleeping rooms, we have all of the 6 different types. So that would be 4. Corridors. And so you would go through all these things. You would add up the grand foyer, the bonus cards. If you were then to build any of those, you would also build the royal attendants, and then the throne room, and then whoever, and then you would record that as your total score. But the thing about this game is you're building 2 castles, but your lowest score will score. So if I had this castle would score me, let's say 30, and my other castle would score me 40. I would not score the one that scores 40, but in fact, I would only score this one, scoring 30. So you have to balance both of your castles when you are building them, and so that's how you play between 2 castles of Mad King Ludwig. I just want to show some of these tiles because there are a whole bunch of them, and I mean like a whole bunch of them, and they're all different artwork. So here you got the grand balcony, you got the guardhouse. What's this? You have a breakfast nook. You have, again, they're all different. What is this one? A hall of portraits. You have a study. You have a lockdown room. You have a mud room. Fireplace. What else is there? Hibernation chamber. And there's a lot of artwork on all these. But I will say the iconography is a little small. But we will talk about more of that in the final forecast, which we will now check out now. So the final forecast for Between Two Castles of Mad King Ludwig. At the top of the video, I said that this is a mashup between Two Cities from Stonemaier Games and Castles of Mad King Ludwig from Bezier Games. This is the mashup, some of the parts of those 2 games. One, you're building castle. The other one, you are building a city between you and your neighbor. This game plays from 2 to 7 with the expansion going up to 8. I've played at the 2, 3, and 4 player count. I haven't played higher than that. I can imagine that higher than 4 is pretty much the same. You just won't see some of the tiles going around in the draft more than once. Thing that I like about drafting games, typically they play like speedy all the time because everybody is kind of simultaneously collecting a resource or cards or tiles in this case. And so that's the one thing I like about drafting games. This game has absolutely fantastic components. I'm going to show you inside the box. I will also say that I have the expansion, Secrets and Soirees, which plays up to 8. I have not played this, so I cannot speak on this, but I love the insert, game trace insert, and how everything just fits. Like, if you're playing with that, you take that out, and then you have all the special tiles, the fountains, and the grand foyer, and the towers, and all the bonus things. This just sits on the table, and then all the components, all the tiles, right here in this tray, got lid. They're all counted out, so setup and teardown in this game is ridiculously fast. You take this off, everybody, takes a little castle between them, and they take a stack of 9 tiles, and you're playing the game. Legitimately, in a minute, you could be playing this game. And then obviously in teardown, all you do is shuffle the tiles. When you are done, put them back in, 9 per spot in this tray, and you're ready to go. So setup, teardown, absolutely amazing. I love the artwork in the sense of I enjoy the artwork. I like it how that all these rooms are different. So you have like a chocolate room, and you have a cat room or a dog room. I think both of them. You have a game room, and you have a statue room, and a game with symbols, or a room with symbols, and just like tons and tons of different rooms. And so it's fun. You're building out this castle, and it's all just like these really, really weird rooms that all work together, don't work together, but it's just fun. Every game is going to be different because the uniqueness of all those tiles. I'll speak on the uniqueness of those tiles a little bit later, but I like the components. I thought these components, I thought the tiles actually were smaller than Carcassonne, but they're the same size as Carcassonne. But production, Stonemaier game, it's top notch. I like that you can play this game with a multitude of age ranges and experience in the board gaming hobby. You can play this with kids all the way to those that aren't as young as they once were. Okay, I'm saying that politely, but you can play this with a wide range of people because when you're working together with the people on your left and on your right, you can set up the table for experienced players to be around inexperienced players, and they can help shoulder the load and shoulder the workload and stuff. And I like that because I like the aspect in this game. Probably the thing I like the most about this is actually working with your neighbor. I like that phase of the game where everybody's taking the tiles and then you stop and then you're working with your neighbor and you're like, hey, what if we put this here? But if we put this one and take the tile that you drafted and put it here, this will really help. And this will help score with this tile. And you know what? We'll start getting set collection. Hey, we have, 2 pantry rooms. If we get a third one, then we get an extra tile. And so I like that aspect of working together with your neighbor. I think it's a nice, tough balancing act that you have to balance your castles because you will only score your lowest score. So the highest lowest score of each player is the actual winner. So you can't just ignore one and focus just strictly on, one of them, because if that's the highest score of your 2, it's not going to count for anything. And so I like that balancing act. I think that the thing I like most about this is actually working with your neighbor. It kind of slows the game down, and for some it might slow the game down too much. But I like the whole set collection. I'm a fan of set collection games, and I love it that, you get 3 of one kind, you get that bonus. If you get 5 of one kind, you get another bonus. I feel kind of all the bonuses feel on par, like nothing seems overpowered. And at the end of the game, it's just fun to see like, hey, I built this castle with the help of my neighbor. And that's a lot of fun. On the negative side, scoring that castle can be a chore, because you have to go through every one of the tiles. And so, they do have a score pad, so that's nice. And it has the castle name on the top and whatnot. But it has if you build a food room, go through every food room and score each one of them separately. And then every living room, every outdoor, every, utility in the downstairs. So you have to go through every single tile. And that can take quite a while. I can only imagine how long that would take. At the higher player count, mind you, everybody would be scoring their own or would be scoring one specific one, but that can be a chore, because not just because you have to go through them all, but because some of the iconography in this is quite tiny. I said that one of the pros of this that I liked, you have that wide range of audience or player A count and B player ages. But that can be a deterrent. Maybe it's just my age showing. But I was taking my glasses off, and in my gaming group, we're kind of all around that same age, around the 40 mark. A lot of us were like, what's on this tile? What is this? Oh, that's a set collection of, that tiny mirror in the top left corner. Oh, this type of like sword or like lantern in the top right corner. There's some pretty small iconography in this game. And I think that'll deter quite a bit of people because of usability issues. And I understand they couldn't have made this thing, like the tiles, bigger, because it would have taken absolutely enormous amount of table space. At the same time, they wanted to make every room unique. So then they had all this, artwork and all this cool, artwork and detail on each of the rooms. But I'm wondering, and it would have been pretty bland if it would have just been like colors and stuff like that. I understand that. But the iconography is pretty tiny. And so do be aware of that. Scoring takes a while. I actually got an app. I think it's called the King Stewart app. I can't think of it off the top of my head. You have to pay for it, but you just scan your castle, and it just does your scoring in legitimately like 5 seconds. And so I suggest getting that app. It talks about it in the expansion rulebook, but there is an app to help a scoring companion. Not a Stonemaier game product, just a fan-made thing. And I used that because after the first time I scored, I was like, I'm buying the app. Straight away, I just went and I bought the app as a result. But overall, I think this is a lot of fun. I'm giving it a 75% chance of meeples. I think with the scoring and the small tiles, it pulled back from being a better game because even with the wide range of audience and stuff like that, I feel that this is going to hit the table less often as a result of that. But if I'm in the mood for a drafting game that plays so high, I'm going to go to this. If I'm looking for a competitive one that's like more thinky, more gamery-ish, as opposed to like a Sushi Go Party, which plays the same amount of players, but is a little bit more lighter and whatnot. But overall, 75% chance meeples for Between Two Castles of Mad King Ludwig. I enjoyed it. 75% chance meeples. My name is Brent. Until next time, grab your umbrella. The forecast is cloudy with a chance of meeples.